So before they come in, there's a gun in this bag. Before they come in, am I gonna fuck up the shot if I'm moving? All right. Yeah. So before we get started, as the late people, on-time people come in, let's get started with some Q&A. I can't help you. I say this at every single event. It's not magic science. It's none of that. It's the same thing. It's the same answer. Answers don't really got, like, every 1,000 years the answer may change, right? So the best way for me to help you is to answer your questions based on things that I've already done. If I haven't done it, and if it's a theory, I have to say it's a theory, right? So the answers that I can give you, as we're talking and more people come in, you get to get those questions answered more thoroughly. Does that make sense? All right, first, how many people in here do not like me? I just want to give everyone an opportunity, like from Twitter and shit, that says I don't like him. Whenever I come to every town, I want to give everyone the opportunity to address me and the things that they don't like. Not as a negative way, because you might have something, the reason why you don't like me, maybe based on something legitimate or an oversight on my part. Or you just might be like pussy, and I can just check it. Okay? Nobody dislikes. Okay, cool. All right. After like the event is over, it'll be like, I fucking told him I didn't like him, and y'all was here. No one said anything. All right? Every single time. Black people.
No, we have.
Where's he at? It's Jeff. Where's Jeff? It's Jeff. And I know him. Okay? Now, I'm making light of it, but it's gonna be the same repetitive theme. It's no magic sauce. The opposition is going to beat you if you do not do outreach. It is not magic sauce. It's very simple. I'm on Twitter like, oh, well, I got some ghostwriters on Twitter too, but I'm on Twitter like all the time. It's the same thing. Again, if I was your opposition, Democrat, Republican, insert whatever, right? Sorry, work, whatever. I would demolish you by just taking pictures and not saying anything. Because I would go, yeah, they're definitely racist. Look, there's no black people there. You have to get around that. I don't care if you think it's pandering, it's not. We'll go over the difference between pandering and outreach today, right? But you're going to fucking lose on the optics. You're going to fucking lose. I say this every single time too. If the Illuminati, AKA the Democratic Party, comes to buy me, I know exactly how to beat you. Okay? You ever play chess against yourself? It's the hardest thing in the world because you know what the other guy's gonna do. Right? I know where your weaknesses are. Me and Jeff are the only black, and he lives in Texas. Okay? So we're gonna do a Q&A. People will come in shortly and all that other good stuff. There are no wrong questions. I want you to be rude. I want you to cut me off. I want you to stop me. I want you to say, I disagree. That's wrong. This is not church. Like the one dude up front saying stuff and y'all gotta be quiet. That's not what this is. All right? Make sense? Usually when I say who wants to go first, nobody goes first. Who wants to go first? Okay, of course. The redhead libertarian. I follow you on Twitter, by the way.
Yes, I follow you.
Okay.
When are you going to debate that little bitch, David Hogg?
The question is, who would have to debate? He's avoiding it.
I know.
He's absolutely avoiding it.
Did you see my conflict with him?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He'll do that. And then I'll go, hey man, you want to talk? And he'll be quiet.
Yeah.
It is smart. I say this again. I'll preface everything that I say at every event with, I say this at every event. What I say at every event is some things that my nana used to say all of the time. One of them was respect the devil, right? The devil is ancient. You're smart. Libertarians are smart. The devil is ancient, which means like smart is here. Wisdom comes with ancient with time, okay? The devil is, you're here, smart, right? Because you're like, who's the oldest person in here? Like 60, 50? It's you. Right? Potentially you, right? And I say that You're fucking 40? Jesus Christ. No. But in true fashion, wisdom is ancient. It's old. So David Hogg is listening to people that have ancient wisdom. It does not make sense for him to debate me. He has more social media followers than me, right? And we going in the direction of like social credit score. It makes more sense. I wouldn't, if I was paid by the Democratic Party, I would coach him to not debate me either. It does not make sense. The same reason why Lupe Fiasco tapped out, right? It does not make sense. You can't, again, guys, there is no magic sauce. There's three things that anti-gunners cannot get around. How many people seen Inglorious Bastards? Okay, you see, you guys get the reference. Fucking, y'all didn't watch the movie. There's three reasons why it does not make sense for David Hogg or all of the other democratically funded influencers that they're hiring for TikTok and all that. It does not make sense. The smart thing for them to do is to completely ignore them. It makes much more sense because you can't get around three things. You can't get around the racist practice and origin of gun control. I'm gonna say it. And if you argue against me on stage saying it, you look like a racist. This is where you guys lose. If you said the same thing, if you happen to be like a white dude, if you say the same thing, if I'm on the other side, I get to go, oh, you're trying to do the white savior complex, or you're using black people's struggle as a that. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's what I would say to win. So they can't say it to me. Does that make sense? So it's smart. They can't get around the racist practice of gun control. They can't get around the 60% suicides associated with death, with firearms. And I'm definitely going to bring that up. I say, well, man, if you really wanted to solve and save lives, you would go to the 60%. And then, before I finish that point, they're smart. Last week, I went to Rhode Island to speak and testify at their gun day, which is where they try to push all this gun control through on the middle of the day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I did not know that Rhode Island was so extremely left. I did not know that. I knew there was a bunch of universities there, but I just didn't know. So I go there, and Moms Demand Action is there, and I beat them up because I had my Black Guns Matter shirt covered up because I knew they was gonna come with the red shirts, like Moms Demand Action, right? And then I get on stage with a hat backwards and shades, and I get up there, and they're like, this guy's gonna be a fucking clown, right? It's a good chess move. I want you to underestimate me. I'm Al Pacino in Devil's Advocate. They never see me coming, right? So I get up there and I say what I say, and usually Moms Demand Action is very loud. They say, oh, I can't believe, They were very quiet. Do you know what they did, what I found out yesterday? Bullshit you not. They hired a black dude with muscles with a Moms Demand Action t-shirt to talk pro-anti-gun shit. It's smart. I mean, I'm gonna fuck him up too, but it's a smart tactic. Does that make sense? Right? So, they can't get around the suicides. They can't get around the racism. And they definitely can't get around, I have a human and fundamental right. If I say, David Hogg, you can get the Second Amendment repealed, because that's really what you believe. He won't cop to that. But that's where they're going. And I'll say, well, there's a way to do that. Just get the votes. Just get it repealed. Just do it. They can't. So those are the three areas. Inglorious Bastards. All right, whatever. Fuck it. Right? Those are the three ways, those are the three first steps that they can't get around. When I ran for city council, we needed 3,000 signatures to get on the ballot as a third-party candidate. Anybody know how many Republicans and Democrats is needed? 300. We got 9,000 on purpose, right? And handed in 3,000 signatures, hoping that they would try to invalidate it. And I was gonna wait till the last day and hit them with another 3,000, other big lawyers holler at that. And then if they somehow got through that, I was gonna hit them with another 3,000, right? It's a good chess move for them not to fuck with me and stay in the back. So David Hogg is never gonna, if I get to 2 million, if this Fox TV deal goes through or some shit like that, Netflix, then David Hogg will try to come debate me. It makes more sense. Right now, it is not politically, socially, financially beneficial for him to fuck with me. It does not make sense. If I was his advisor, I would say do not fuck with him. Ignore him. It's smart. Make sense? Next question. Brother right here.
Do you always have the views you currently have on firearms, or do you have your opinion and then change over time?
No, I was much more quiet about firearms. My mom didn't see me with a firearm until I started BGM, like a couple of years ago. Like, and there was a lot of fucking guns in her house. She had no idea. She just didn't. Now I'm trying to get arrested. So when y'all see me tweet, I'm in New York and I got a gun, I'm baiting them. I want to get arrested. I want to get arrested.
Like when you want to attack trans people and drag queens?
Oh, let's go with that.
I saw that tweet.
Are you trans?
Yeah, I am.
So you felt attacked?
Well, just my drag queen siblings.
So the people on Twitter, basically.
You.
No. You said your drag queen siblings. Did you feel attacked?
Yeah, of course.
What did I say in the tweet that felt anti-trans? First, let me be clear. I want to be very clear, and I love that you're on live, because when I destroy your fucking argument, because you're accusing me of something that I didn't do. Wait. It's not adversarial. It's not adversarial. It's not adversarial. You are an American. You are a human. I care for you. Do you know that my closest cousin is transgender? Do you know that? That I grew up with? Do you or your Twitter siblings know that? Huh?
You said you want to go pull up and attack drag queens.
It's not what. Say the whole tweet. Say the context. No. You are the person saying it. Stand on what you're saying. No, recite it. You pull it up. You got a phone.
Yeah, I'm recording right now.
Okay, let's pull it up. So when you sweatshop, pull it up. Yeah, let's pull it up. And let's look at the context. Let's look at the issue. This is an American that I care for. I'm going to destroy this American's argument. That's it. Today. You pull it up, and I'll go around what I generally said in the context. If you have, in my community, if you have a drag queen story hour, right? For the context too. No. You can't say it. It's not context. I'm the person that's reading it. I'm the person with the whole link. Did you read the thread? Or you just read the tweet?
Say the original.
No. I asked you. Wait. I've addressed you. It's not that hard for you to acknowledge what you said. Listen. Did you read the whole thread in the context, or just
I read most of your other.
most? So you didn't read it.
Yeah, I found out what you actually meant. You didn't say that.
No. So what that actually means to you?
What's the story? I got the whole tweet.
Oh, that's the black guy that has the tweet. I'm going to score, and I'm going to go there.
Just the first tweet.
Why is this the first tweet? You see what you're doing?
Because
That's called isolating no context.
You want context for your violent threat. It's pretty wild.
I want context for everything that I do.
You didn't have
If you hit me right now, right? Listen. We're not in it. If you
are right, you're kind of a fascist.
That's how you ain't gonna do shit.
What would I?
Right, you can't. So again, to me, you're not my enemy. You're not my enemy. So let's get back to this. So with that being the case, right?
You're threatening trans.
It's not what I said. And you know what should keep running me over?
Drag queens because
No.
you think you're.
No, you're implementing. We get to read the tweet in context, and you said you don't want context.
I didn't say that.
You did. You literally said what about context?
You didn't have context in your.
Did you read the full thread?
Why? Why doesn't it get full thread? Because you got caught. You got caught.
There needs to be no full thread. There needs to be no context in what you're saying.
Context said that.
That's not the context. Would you like me to read the context?
You're claiming that.
No, I can read exactly what I said. No, I'm not trying to read anything. I can verbatim read what I said. Now we get to the context.
It's what you already wrote, so just go for it.
No, now I don't want you. You go for it. You don't control my moves.
Your context.
I don't care what you think my context is. Wait, listen, real quick, everybody. This is great. Wait. This is trash.
This is what you said. Someone
Listen, this is good. Do you know why this is good? Let me tell you, no. Don't just read it out. We are not controlled by anything that he says. He says context.
I'm not a he.
She. What are your preferred pronouns? So I can respect you thoroughly.
She, her, if you really want to.
She, her. She, her feels as if she determines what my moves are going to be. She, her has also dictated that she, hers is not going to
Say one of
context.
the pronouns. You have to say both of them.
Which one would you prefer? My sister?
It just doesn't matter. You're just
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm not distracting anything. No. You don't get to determine what other people's perspective is.
That's not what I'm doing.
You're trying to, I'm just not allowing it.
You're threatening
Go
violence.
ahead, read the tweet. And I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm going to tell you exactly where I agree to violence. I'm okay with violence.
I'm aware of that.
Okay. How about the violence towards you?
Your violence towards
Don't get into it.
Oh, okay. Good. If you shoot that. If you shoot that. You have a preferred program.
I do, but I shouldn't say it in this room.
Okay, good.
That's right.
Yeah, wait, let me read this, and now I want to in context that she is trying to attempt to tell you my context.
Okay, it says, if you do a drag queen story hour for children in my community, I'm gonna pull up and assault you.
Yes!
I'll be arrested.
Yes!
By the time I bail out and you reschedule another one, I'll pull up again.
Yes! I stand on everything I said.
And I'll pull up again.
That's a perfect question. All right. Will you let me go for 30 seconds? Is that fair? Okay. The context there is, as she's trying to remove it,
No, I'm not removing it.
you said 30 seconds, sis.
Bullshit.
Say it. No. If you got me,
Keep adding.
you asked me, I asked you respectfully, could I have 30 seconds? If you cut me off one more time, the conversation is over. Fair? The context that she's trying to remove is when you're reading sexual, and that's in the thread, when you're reading sexual things to children in my community, I am going to assault you. No!
Explain to me.
No, next question!
Explain.
Next question!
Hey,
you want to talk to you
Where that's fucking happening? You just made it up.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Ruth Christine. Well, as a fellow trans woman, I'd like to say that regardless of whether in any community, a bigger question of why you want to be around children to begin with.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I knew
Yeah, because it's a valid question!
Why is me saying that I need to be around children? It makes no sense.
Well, why would you want to try to
You just maybe she's projecting something onto you, like you projected something onto me. Next question! Who's next? Next question. You heard it, brother right here. He has a question. Yes, brother.
I'm new to guns, didn't really.
Hold on, y'all. Let's listen up.
New to guns, didn't really grow up around them at all.
Uh-huh.
I want to.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Give it a second. Everyone's going to be able to ask the positive or negative question that they have. No one's going to do anything. We are all Americans. This is love, but let's give respect to this brother here.
I want to buy a gun for family protection for the house. What should I get? If I'm brand new.
His question was, he wants to get, he's a first-time firearms owner. He wants to purchase a firearm for home protection. What would be the one? See, I'm over here. Because you're going to say I'm being transphobic. No, listen, sister, I want you to stay, but can you stay respectfully? So you can't respectfully stay? I love America. I love America. Oh, man. Feel triggered. The brother right here, then you. The brother right here just asked, what would be a firearm for his first purchase? For his home, for home defense, correct? Now, that question is a little bit layered. So the way that I'll usually answer that is with a question. What type of shoes should I wear? Bam.
Basketball.
Am I playing basketball? Am I running? Am I hiking? Even deeper, do I have a flat foot? Do I have a high arch? Right? So in essence, the question comes down to, okay, I'm using, it has to be a more layered question. Not saying like rude towards you. The question is, in essence, I want a rifle. My home is shaped this way. I am in a ranch style home that has plenty of open space, or I'm in a row home in Philadelphia that has thin walls in between. I have to ask all of those questions to determine which one I would assume will be best for that situation. Then after that, I gotta go, do you have, what's in your budget? Are you trying to get something for just home or home in your truck, right? So in essence, if I'm asking someone, if I'm trying to answer that question for that person, I have to qualify that with a bunch of other questions. Now, if you live, what kind of, like generally, without giving up land around it? He's saying a quarter acre to somebody that like grew up in row homes. He's like, oh, it's not. We don't have fucking backyards, bro. So for me, if you thinking SBR, and regardless, like I don't know the budget, but maybe a honey badger suppressed with a light, obviously, right, for home defense, right? Something that will shoot silently, because the bad guys don't give you an opportunity to like put your earmuffs on. So something that's suppressed, something that, because you say it's a bigger house, something if I gotta pop him from way down there once he's crossed a certain threshold, right? That is not gonna like do too much damage to my ears and to my family's ears. So if, for me, I would say SBR of your choice, suppressed, that you train a lot with. There's people that have all of the gadgets, but they don't do any training, and they'll get smoked by a dude with like a high point with no fucking like light on it or nothing on it. You get what I'm saying? So if under those circumstances, that's what I would recommend. SBRs, meaning short barrel rifle. The rifle doesn't leave much of an imprint if I gotta go poke around a corner. I don't know why you would poke around a corner, right? You should have a security plan for your house where they have to come to me. I'm not going to look for a fucking gunfight. But a SBR 300 black seems to fit what you're saying with the limited information that I have. So all of the people in here that don't know what the fuck numbers and letters I just said, what I'm explaining to him is SBR, again, being short barreled rifle. When I say suppressed, meaning it has a can on it or a suppressor, or actually, the original name was a silencer. There's always an argument between silencer and suppressor, right? It shoots and makes the sound, the decibel level, a lot lower. When I say the bad guys won't allow you to go put your earmuffs on, you're not gonna have time to go like put like ear protection on, okay? And if you got a muzzle hider, suppressor, that flash won't give off too much of a signature. Letting the other bad guy, because most robberies or break-in and enteries, or whatever that shit is called, there's always a +1. Bad guys usually bring a +1 when it's like a fucking party. They're gonna bring a bag, they're gonna bring a +1. Make sense? Anybody not understand anything that I just said? Yo, we started this one off pretty spicy, guys. This is good. The thing that I'm a little bit disappointed by is that our sister couldn't stay in or chose not to stay in. That part is what I'm disagreeing with, right? Trash me all day, I can stand and deal with it. But to leave because your argument's getting ripped after you're saying, I don't need context, that's wild to me. And I wish we could all get stronger in that space. When I'm getting dissed, or I'm getting, well, that shit really just, I don't really lose debates, but in a different universe where that shit might happen, I would be offended at myself if I left the argument that way, right? And I also want everybody to understand in this room, I don't say this often, my favorite grew up with cousin is trans. I'd say the same shit. We're gonna argue about this thing, but guess what? When we go out the fucking house, nobody's gonna bash my fucking cousin. Make sense? Because I'm not in the house bashing my cousin. So I don't say that often, but I think that's a perfect, moment to express and give more context. Make sense? Next question, brother. Who was it? Brother back here.
So,
Wait. What the fuck did you just say? For lack of a better, that's the best phrase. Okay.
It's a label, right? So I'm going to label.
Okay.
That said, given how easy it is to either fool people, to make them believe any spin, what hope is there for some serious change, whether it's guns, whether it's personal freedom, whether it's like all the fucking taxes, that as sheep we seem to just accept what happened with COVID.
Yeah.
You're kind of in the change fulcrum there. How could that happen?
It's in reality. So there's two things. If you once a day tweet this website, it's called antiwar.com. If you just tweet that shit a lot, right? Scott didn't pay me to say that. If you just do that, a lot of people, or even just in your walk, when you communicate and you bring up certain concepts, you're practicing. This is going to sound manipulative. You guys are practicing Inception. Y'all see that movie? I'm just putting thoughts in people's heads and letting them germinate on their own. I don't want their subconscious to feel offended by me hanging around too fucking much, telling them what they got to do. The human mind, when exposed to freedom and liberty, in that movie, he said an idea is the most resilient thing. Just walk around presenting ideas to people in smooth ways. So for example, when I'm arguing with her, like people's minds are going to be blown that I asked her what her preferred pronoun is. I'm not being a dick. I'm saying, I want you to understand that I respect you as a human. That's Inception. You came in here with it, when I see Maj, I'm going to fucking get him. Right? Because he doesn't respect me as a human, which is false. But I put that thought in her mind, and later on she'll go, damn, maybe I was being a dick. Right? Hopefully. And then we'll have a drink and whatever the fuck. Right? My point in saying that is, it's just walking around giving people these ideas that y'all have by the boatloads. But again, where you guys generally, not everybody in here, but a lot of y'all, suck at the subtle. Unless you're rich, you can't really walk up to, this is not me sounding sexist, ladies, please. I gotta preface shit. You can't, unless you're really rich and or really handsome as a dude, you cannot walk up to random hot women and go, hey, I want to fuck. Let's fuck. I can do it. I did something yesterday. My point is saying, I didn't do that shit yesterday. It doesn't work for me either. My point is, there has to be a subtlety. The person cannot feel like you're the person making them do a thing. And that's not what you're trying to do anyway. The art of persuasion is damn near lost. But I say this at every event. Do you guys know why I'm standing here right now? Talking to y'all? Because I'm good at, I'm fucking amazing at it. Because Mike Heiss practiced this shit on me. He was like, yo, you should, you think about, running for office? And I was like, what the fuck? Hell no. No. Why would I do that? No. Look at presidents the first year in. They go from 45 to 85 in 1 year. No. But he continued. Subtly. Mike Heiss told me years ago, we have to redirect the Libertarian Party. And I swear, if I'm lying, I'm flying. Right? I was like, sure thing, bro. But yet and still, we're all here right now. This shit works. The subtlety of expressing it, the thing. If I find out what a young lady likes, what type of flowers she likes, and again, ladies, I'm not being sexist. I'm a dude, so I gotta say it from this perspective, right? If I know that she likes chrysanthemums, somehow within the week, chrysanthemums will show up. Okay? And I'm not gonna say, yeah, man, I know you like chrysanthemums, so I got those for you, little lady. I'm not doing that. It's too blunt. Does that make sense? I'm fucking the shot up. Does that make sense? The subtle art of conversation and translating your ideas. The problem with us as libertarians is you guys are really smart. You're so smart. Y'all read like books, like all of them. You're so smart, you're forgetting to be wise. Make sense? So just in general conversation, sister right here, and then brother right here. I'm being sexist because she was actually after you, but it's what happens. No one cares how guys feel.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about the Black community, there's only you and one guy.
Jeff.
What's your solution? What's your word of wisdom?
Perfect example.
I'm the one Asian.
The one Asian. Right. So when we did, this is perfect. We're going to segue into the actual conversation. What time is it? I done got yelled at already. 3:41. We're good. Right? You as the only Asian in this particular room, right? Sidebar. Did you know the San people that in South Africa made up what is like Chinese people? Did y'all know that? S-A-N? Check it out later. Nonetheless. So wait, before I, like how Nelson Mandela looks kind of Asian with like dark skin with like really high cheekbones. It's like the San people, that phenotype, right? Don't listen to me, just research it. I'm a high school dropout, don't listen to me. I'm just saying stuff. My point though is, as you being the only primary Asian in here, you need to be a point of reference and a force multiplier for libertarian values in the community that you live in. Boom. So you're already doing it. Now, you have to, you are positioning yourself as the liaison. This is a mafia. We want people to come into our game, but they have to ask you first. And the mafia motherfucker goes, are you verifying him? Are you co-signing him? The people in your community, the shit that we say, like the FBI and the ATF shouldn't be a thing, they'll trust you and they'll go, is this legit? I don't need white guys to do it. I need you to do it in the Asian community. I need me to do it in the Black community. I need Jeff to do it in whatever fucking community he's in. Right? Every single person in here is a force multiplier. Now, you'll be able to generally do it just in your walk. If I happen to be generally in Black and brown communities, I'm just doing it. Right? If you happen to be generally in Asian communities, you're just doing it. The languaging that you're telling and the talking points that you're using to not make it look repulsive to other communities is the key in that walk. I'll give you an example. Generally every talking point that Conservative Inc. uses, the more popular conservatives, right? Those fucking talking points are repulsive to the Black community, and they're disproven. They're not true. What's the big one? Jeff, what's the big one? The Black.
How much time you got?
Right. Fathers. Black fathers aren't engaged in da-da-da-da-da.
We love welfare.
Right. We love welfare. Never mind that welfare was started for white women after the war. Never mind that. Right? Never mind the fucking facts. From the group that says facts don't care about your feelings. Right? However, the myth of like Black fatherlessness, that is a myth. The fucking CDC got that right. That's not true. But they'll repeat that thing because it's an interesting pet rally talking point. Yeah, if we just get the fathers active. Or instead of saying that, you can say, maybe the reason why some fathers, not this demographic, are not engaged is because the state made financial decisions to not make fathers in certain communities of all colors not involved with their fucking children. So we can then garner that towards the state. The state is always going to be the enemy. It's not like me saying it because it's a cool t-shirt. I'm saying it because like history. So your arguments and what you're presenting to the community that you're already walking in, those things cannot be repulsive to the demographic that you're trying to reach. That's it. It's almost impossible to pander when you do it that way. Now, there still needs to be 3 steps in that. You guys have Those ancient devices? Pens? Yeah, have those? Okay, like one person. I got you. After this brother here. First step, I want y'all to write this down or type it. Say this at every single event. The first step is empathy. The facts don't care about your feelings shit does not work. It does not work. If that really worked, right, we would not have Biden as a president. If facts don't care about your feelings actually work to expand the liberty or conservative, whatever movement, right, we would not have a senile 80-year-old dude running this shit. It's what it is. Facts matter, but if you're talking to a person who has feelings, if I don't know that you feel me yet, why the fuck would I listen to your facts? So that's the first one, empathy. So when you're doing this walk and having these conversations, when you're in the community, you don't have to lean on it as much because when you're in the community, you already have a common bond. They know you, they grew up there, They know you're not the ops already. If you're going into a community to do outreach, that's not your community to do outreach. You have to lead with empathy. Empathy is not pandering. Pandering is me saying some off-brand shit like, yeah, man, I listen to Marky Mark. He don't even call his fucking self that no more. So you out of date and you're trying to reach somebody and it's false. It's bullshit. If you actually listen to Wu-Tang, you're like, yo, I don't listen to the new shit. I listen to some older shit though. Here's who I listen to. Telling the truth and establishing a rapport is not fucking pandering. Pandering is repulsing. My Rottweilers can smell fear. The hood, anybody can smell you. It smells like fear. Make sense? So that's the first step. Second step is we do get to facts. Now that I know that you give a fuck about me, and it's not this white savior complex or Asian savior complex or black savior complex, right? Because they'll reverse that on me. If I was fighting against me, I would use me teaching y'all stuff. I would use that against me. I would go, look at him, black savior complex. That's what I would do, right? So it's none of those things. Now that we've established the empathy, now we get to the facts. The fact of the matter is, here's what actually happened as it relates to welfare, to Jeff's point. Here's where that stereotype of this is what the black, you guys just got to pull yourself out by the bootstraps and follow. Well, here's when you target a community for mostly nonviolent drug possession and then lock a whole fucking generation of them up, you're actually the culprit. So now we get to the facts after we've established that I care about you something. Make sense? Third step, solutions. That's when people usually do what she did. They tap out. I've stressed this person's brain to accept the fact that I care about you and I'm dealing with you as a human. If you came in thinking that I wasn't going to do that, I'm already stressing. I'm taxing, like you running out of fucking RAM, right? Because you came in thinking, oh, this person gives no shit about me. I'm already making your brain create different wrinkles. And you're running out of memory to deal with me, right? Now we come into the facts of the matter. Now, I gotta acknowledge the fact that the shit that I thought outside of me thinking that you don't care about me, now the facts of the matter are the opposite of what I've been told the entire time. More RAM being used, more memory being used. Now we get to the solution. And you're fucking honest. Because now let's come up with the solution, because the solution has to be together. Do you know why I haven't got murdered yet by making like more black people in America, like our work has made more black people in America buy guns than any time in American history? I used a lot of white people for shields. What we learned from Malcolm. Who killed Malcolm? CIA. Who killed Dr. King? CIA and FBI. Who fucking destroyed the Black Panthers? FBI. Same COINTELPRO switch. The reason why they were able to be successful with that is they made those guys look like the enemy. If I can make you look like the enemy, anything that I do to you is okay because we've all agreed that this person is the enemy. Right? So in the beginning, I had to use like, oh, Second Amendment. I have to deal with the fact that a vast section of the Second Amendment community is white folk. And if I'm showing that our fates are intertwined, we have to come up with this solution together. Now, when MSNBC tries to write a story and go, this guy's evil, white people too, notice I did this, because you all got melanin, right? White people too go, that's not what the fuck he was doing. That's not what the fuck he said. And matter of fact, you did X, Y, Z. Our fates are intertwined. Now we got to come up with the solution together. Because the state will fuck you together. Make sense? So when we get to the solution, most people tap out. Because it's the most difficult part. If I said to y'all right now, I want you to come up with a color. You can't use the name of like two colors that you never heard. Like you can't say brown and purple. Like brown and purple. You can't use those. You have to come up with a whole nother word. It's more computer processing. You can't use the colors that you already know. Somebody came up with the word pink. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. That's creating a whole new fucking paradigm, a whole new praxis. Outside of the conditioning that you've had, your programming for the last however many years you've been on the planet. That is the most difficult part. If you try to venture into that space without developing empathy and some facts, meaning I care about you, you care about me, and I know what the fuck I'm talking about, you are going to crash on solutions. Just what it is. The problem is all of this shit is difficult. The other problem is Democrats are masters at it. They have to be. They don't have any facts. They definitely don't give a fuck about you. So they present fake solutions. It is smart. Their chess moves are smart. We out here with all of the answers and all of the books and moral victories, and they winning out this bitch. They convinced motherfuckers that 81 million people voted for me. If that's not a masterful chess game, like look at him. If that's not a masterful chess game, what did I say earlier? Respect the devil. It was the brother here. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you think there would be a situation in our lives where we have to use guns?
Yes.
I personally don't have any guns.
Why?
I'm afraid of guns. But it's an issue I want to get over with.
What do you have? Pardon me, and I'm asking this with. You guys see what I'm doing? Empathy. And I'm not being funny, right? Watch the body language, guys. Do you have any trauma associated with firearms? Yep.
No, I'm just scared of things that are dangerous.
Okay. Me too.
Like I'm a welder.
Yeah.
And we handle like assembly tanks and other volatile types of items.
Yeah.
And the first few months that it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
The balance and everything. Making sure you do a lot of pressure. But guns, you hear on the news all sorts of stories and everything.
Yeah.
But I also hear about the situation in America and all the violence and the escalations.
So some of these things are true. The things that are more true that I want to associate with your question is the danger associated with any type of explosive tool. Like firearms work for their intended purpose. They're dangerous if not handled properly. The beauty of that is when you handle them properly, nothing happens. Like I usually carry appendix, meaning my firearm is pointed this way. Some important shit down there, right? If I didn't trust that there was a protocol to make this firearm safe, I would not point it that way, right? So that's the thing. The answer to that is twofold. One, you just got to get training and go through what the rules and 100%. If you follow the 4 basic, people add other ones, but if you follow the 4 basic rules of firearm safety, your firearm will not go off. Fuck what like Alec Baldwin said. That shit is like, he's lying. He should go to fucking jail, right? So that's 1. 2, when you go to the range for the first time with someone that understands and respects your fear, most of my best students are women because they respect the tool. They're like, dudes, like, I play Call of Duty, bro. And it's like not the same thing, but they think it's the same thing, so they don't treat it the same with the same levels of respect. So you as a student, oh, I love that all day. That person needs to walk you through the process of when you go on the range for the first time. When you hear the gunshots, you're gonna feel nervous and you're gonna feel the gunshots in your stomach. You're gonna feel like, oh shit, I'm in here and everybody in here got a tool on. With the proper guidance, and even during that session, you won't even hear the rounds the same way later in that session. You'll be focused on what you're doing, right? The key to that, getting over the fear, is being with people that respect your fear, walk you through the process, and don't rush you. The worst thing that you can have as a firearms instructor is somebody that's like making light of this shit, and it's somebody's first time, and they give them a caliber that we know that you can't fucking handle. I would never do that. I would respect your fear. I would say that fear is good, because that fear is going to keep you in check of following the protocol, and you'll probably be more safe than most people. Now, to your other question of, do I think there's a time where firearms will have to be used? Do you mean like against the government, or do you mean like personal protection?
Kind of both. You never know what's
You might have to shoot a motherfucker next week, bro. Like, no, fuck. No. So yes, it can, right? It's actually very rare, though. To your other statement of you watch the news, stop. Or watch all of the news. Watch like Al Jazeera. Watch like shit from other countries and like let it balance out. I remember one time I was on a flight from California to somewhere on the East Coast, and I picked up a newspaper, and it was the same story on whatever fucking newspaper. And then I landed on the East Coast, and it was the same story, and it was a whole nother motherfucking headline, which is like told it the whole different way. So clearly there's an agenda. So if I was you, I would just watch all of this shit and like create a system of averages. Who's telling me the most bullshit today or the most truth today? Or just don't watch any of it, right? Because it's feeding something like, they'll make it seem like there's a mass shooting like every 2.5 minutes. And it's not true. Mass shootings are less than 1% of all shootings. But if I see it on TV all the time, I'm like, oh shit, it's a problem. It's a serious problem, right? You ever buy a car and then you see that car everywhere? You're like, what the fuck? Did everybody get the same deal that I got? Your brain is conditioned to see that same parameter. That's the power of the human mind. So I would say those 3 things. Training. You live in Austin?
I live in so near Austin.
All right. I'll get my contact and I'll plug you with an instructor that is in alignment with what I'm saying. Training. Watch everything that I'm saying when you go to training. You're going to be nervous. You're going to go in the range. You're going to feel like this. And after a while with a good instructor, you won't even feel it the same. And then you'll have more of a respect for the tool, as well as cut down on the news. They are fucking lying to you. For whatever reason, maybe money, I think, but whatever. It was the sister. Where'd she go? Okay, there she goes. Yeah.
So going back to a previous argument, I was curious. I
don't debate. Wait, so it's not an argument. Let me tell you what.
Or
I debate my equals. All others I teach.
What I heard earlier, I hate when people use representation as an excuse to say they cannot relate to me.
Yeah.
In this context, I say that gun rights, or more so, the right to defend life, liberty, and property, is universal.
Yep.
And should be relatable to all.
Yep.
With that said,
Mm-hmm.
who is your favorite person in history you can relate to on matters of gun rights and why?
Malcolm.
Hell yeah.
It's Malcolm. Before I go into why Malcolm, the tweet that I made, I meant every fucking word of it. The context is to give more clarity. I didn't pay the $8 yet, so I got like 240 characters, right? The context, which is important, which is I wish she would have stayed so we could go, unpack a little bit. If you're reading sexual things to children, I will assault you. That can mean a simple assault. Notice I didn't say I will shoot you. There's other times where I've said, he might need a Mozambique drill. I'll say those things. I have no problem with saying that. Now, to your point, if I went into a library where this drag queen story hour was happening, and I attempted to assault this person, and they pulled their firearm out and shot me, I bought that. I bought that. I'm not excusing myself. I'm just okay with a simple assault charge. But a robbery could turn into a homicide like that, and I'm aware of it. So the things that I'm venturing into, right? That's why I don't get on like roller coasters and like cruise ships. Y'all are fucking insane. That shit is 100 times bigger than the Titanic. I'm not interested. I have to get on planes, and I don't like those, right? But I'm making a decision. Each person has that right. They can say, I feel morally that it's okay for me to read these sexy stories to babies, and nobody can do anything about it. They are within their rights to say that. If I smack them in the fucking mouth, I am inviting what comes after that. I'm good with it. So that point of all groups of folks, I know what I'm signing up for. I just am rolling the dice on, if a few people get smacked in the mouth, a lot of the goofy shit will stop. So that's just my perspective, right? Hold on, Jim, know the name. No, go ahead, Jim.
I'm concerned as if you were to assault somebody and drag the story hour and say it was legal, and then they pull out a gun and shot and just you get a kid.
Yeah, that's a fucked up part, and I would be responsible for that. Me. Because I don't know if this person trains. My point here is, guys, I'm telling you, I've evaluated and thought out all of these things. Here's the other part. Usually when, y'all notice that there's very little like black community, that shit happening in black communities. First of all, you gotta deal with black moms. Good fucking luck. Right? So a lot of times when I say these things, it's kind of like a put, I stand on it, but it's kind of like a put on notice. It's like, you know I'll fuck you up in here. Right? It's a deterrent. It's like, in essence, I'm like the Walmart greeter. Hello. Don't steal shit. Right? Now, so most of it is a deterrent. And I think more people should be willing to say it. If you're, I don't care if you share, what is it, cis, what is the term? Cis, like straight, that's the real term. If you share straight sexual shit with my daughter, I'm gonna fuck you up. That's it. In the process of me fucking you up, I am walking down that street in a robbery, it turned into a homicide like that. I gotta be able to stand on what I'm saying and acknowledging bad guy gets a say. In any self-defensive the situation, technically to that person, I'm the bad guy. To me, they may be the bad guy. Bad guy gets a say, depending on where you at. So I do. So I'm not saying, guys, run outside and beat up people just for, I'm saying if it's clear that this is sexual shit, you guys don't have to do what I do. All I'm saying is, me, in my community where I am, if I see this shit, a simple assault might be just me smacking you in your mouth. Now, some people, you guys are libertarians. Question to you. Does that violate the net? No? Who thinks no? Who thinks yes? Yes? Thank you. Take what comes with it. Next question.
I was doing a Twitter space with Josie and two FBI whistleblowers, and we had like 25 people respond, like chiming in. And the three dudes that were black said, as a black man, they opened up what they had to say with that. And as a libertarian, I'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
I have a knee-jerk reaction or an aversion to people that like categorize themselves as like, I am these,
Thing.
unchangeable things. It's like, why are you prefacing with that? How should I approach that? Should I just accept that's who they are and just address their concerns, or should I try and dissuade them from viewing themselves in that fashion?
This is where libertarians struggle so much.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. They have the freedom to be wrong. My homies, after the last 3 years, are still thinking about voting for Biden. And I'm like, what? If you really love humans, you have to give them and respect their freedom to be wrong and stupid. You can say from your mountaintop, this is what I think is right. Here's the data. I love you, care about you. When you're ready for a solution together, but you get to be that. The real power is not letting the relationship diminish after they continue to be that. That shit is hard. And just going like, I usually ask, I go like, before I go to that, the reason why I'm really good at this now is because over the last couple of years, the vast majority of my friends that was talking that left shit on certain levels came back and was like, so bro, you were saying something about this liberty shit. Tell me something. All of my anti-gun friends that I never damaged that relationship, when they started closing grocery stores at 20, they was calling my phone like, bro, I bought the gun and I know you told me to get ammo. I know you told me to get ammo. I didn't get ammo. I was meeting them all over Philly doing like low-key drug deal. Here, bro. You ain't get that from me. It's cool, bro. Let me know if you need some more, though. Only because I didn't damage the relationship. What I've noticed in this walk is, I feel like they do this hyper like partisan thing to make us damage the relationship. I'm low-key sad that I could not connect with her. I'm sad because it's like, I need you to see that what you thought is not what it is. But if I still with empathy and love and say, yo, can I respect you as a human? Can you, later on, that person may come back around. And 90% of the time, they come back. After I got fake internet famous, all of the girls that wasn't, they come back. They come back. So I just apply that same logic. And you guys got to remember, like Scott pretty much knows everything about war-related shit. You know how many books he's had to read? And how many books have you written?
I'm on my third one.
I have yet to write a book. The point in saying that is, the people in this room have a high level of understanding because y'all read a lot of shit. The people that we are helping have been victimized by the state, the Department of Education, the fourth complex of the government, like media, right? They are good at their job, and they've convinced people from the demographics that we need to reach to they don't even know what the fuck you are. They don't know. Not because it's like, because people say, well, if they wanted to know, the information is out here. Again, if I ask you to make up a color that you never thought, you can't use brown and purple. And if I for years told you there's only 4 colors, and then you get exposed to like orange, you're like, what the fuck? So go back to the Malcolm thing. Malcolm. The reason why Malcolm is my favorite person in history, and this ties into your question as well. Malcolm kept evolving. Criminal, me, right? Meaning violently point a gun at somebody and take their stuff. I justified it by, well, they hustling, they know the game, so whatever. I never pointed my gun at a citizen ever. It was just icky, right? Criminal goes to jail. I never went to jail. I don't know shit about jail. So sorry guys. Evolved in jail. Read the whole dictionary and thesaurus and wrote it out a bunch of times. Changed. Went to the Nation of Islam. Changed a bunch of other men. Changed the community. Got into it with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Went to Mecca. Recognized that some of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, respectfully, I'm saying this with respect, was doing, he disagreed with. Changed again. All of the angry rhetoric that he said about white folk, which growing up in the 1920s, it's kind of fair. It's a little fair. Do y'all know how Malcolm X's dad died? Oh, this is gonna blow your fucking mind. Do y'all know that the Ku Klux Klan held his dad in front of a fucking trolley car and they chopped him in half? Oh. What the fuck? I'd be mad at you motherfucking white devils too. God damn. My point is saying that it's a joke, guys. I'm not calling you guys white devils. The internet will be like, Maj calls libertarians white devils. My point is saying that is, empathetically, I can understand why somebody at that time with actual racism rampant would be mad, but kept evolving. Went to Mecca and was like, nah, I want to run the Kaaba. I prayed with Muslims that were blonde hair and blue-eyed, kept evolving. Then, when the FBI and all of them motherfuckers, because they had their phones tapped, Malcolm is the only freedom fighter during that time when they was tapping phones, right, that had no extramarital affairs that they could prove. They came to Malcolm several times. Anything I'm saying, if I'm lying, I'm flying. They came to Malcolm several times offering him then, the 50s and 60s, millions of dollars to be an informant. He turned them down 4 times. Millions of dollars then. Right? So, respecting the evolution of a person is why Malcolm is one of my favorite people. But if somebody would have cut him off before he had that chance to keep butterflying, it might have been he might have not continued to butterfly. So I try not to do that. What I don't like as a follower, I don't do as a leader. So if I see somebody that's where they at right now, damn. Y'all know Malcolm's nickname when he was in the street? Detroit Red. And he kept even changing his name. And before he passed, y'all know Malcolm's name? El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. Just kept fucking cocooning and caterpillaring and butterflying. So the people that we're engaging, give them their opportunity to cocoon, fucking caterpillar and butterfly. If I don't do that, I'm kind of knowing what I know, I'm a little corny. So that's the reason why. So you guys just go with questions. Anybody else?
Early on, you said something about taking a gun to New York State, hope to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope? What would be the progress after that?
I want to, so 2 things. The Bruin decision, we're cited in that for the New York State situation, right? There was a rule yo, you can't carry a gun in New York outside of your home or your place of business. The Bruin decision overturned that. We're cited in that from a little bit of us saying, here's how the racist practice of gun control historically and currently impacts my community, right? But New York City and the state will still say things like, well, cool, but you still got to have a license. The Bruin decision was good, but it needs to go further. So that's the first reason. If I get arrested in one of those states, or whatever state, and I'm trying to get a different precedent set. I'm trying to add on the Bruin case, right? People, Heller, Chicago, McDonald in Chicago, cases build on each other. That's why I want to get arrested. That's the first reason. The other reason is I want a Bentley, and I'm going to sue the shit out of whatever state that it is. Y'all laughing. Y'all seen the fucking 23 Continental GT Bentleys? Those shits are lit. I'm a fucking community activist. I can't afford that shit right now. So if I get arrested and then sue them, I'll get a Bentley.
You told me So listen, Reno, if you have 2 of those though, that means you sold out. So
If I have 2 Bentleys, the same car, I'm telling y'all, I'm just being honest with y'all. I have a sellout number. It's 800 million. I mean, it's fiat currency, but I can get some Bitcoin with the shit, right? Some land. If you see me with 2 Bentleys, the same one, black and white, I have been compromised. Y'all laughing. And then I'll joke and be like, oh, it was a joke. Listen to me now. Y'all see how Lupe Fiasco did a 180? What happened? Mr. Occupy Wall Street. What happened? To shilling for Big Pharma, to shilling for the government, to telling me that certain citizens should not have firearms, the same firearms that he got. What happened? I'm not famous enough to go in those rooms. I don't know, but it makes me somewhat kind of like believe in, you know how people be like, yo, they be cloning people, bro. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But when those 180s happen like that, I start going like, well, shit, maybe. If you see me start saying, I've had a come to Jesus moment, and guns are dangerous. And I don't know why a civilian would want a weapon of war. If you see me say that shit and I got 2 Bentleys, it's fucking over. It's over. Just look at my old videos. It was nothing I said after that. Next person. Nobody else? All right, go ahead.
Well, I know you were saying that you would go into this, would you encourage other people to
No.
go out there?
The reason why I would not encourage people to do that is because I'll get sued too, sometimes, depending on the person. And I know a bunch of Second Amendment lawyers. Our organization is cited in the Supreme Court decision. If I get arrested, I probably wouldn't even have to pay like lawyer fees because they know we're gonna set precedent on this one. So some of my lawyer friends will be like, "We're not charging you. Come on, you want to do the case?" Because they know it's gonna be a bag for them later too. You know what I'm saying? But that's my situation. That's like me telling people, I don't care. I don't have a license to carry. I'll help you get one. I'll tell you that it's an infringement. But it's infinitely easier dealing with law enforcement when you have a license to drive. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a driver's license. Right. I don't have a license to carry. Nope. I do this shit all the time. That's my scenario. It's a little bit irresponsible to encourage somebody to do the same thing without telling them the other side of the game. When I got arrested in Canada for them guns, I was like, because I was with somebody else, and they was like, "Who guns is it?" I was like, "They're mine. They're all fucking mine." With no hesitation. I don't care. I don't care. I stand on this shit, but it's irresponsible of me to subject somebody else to that if they're not fully versed in the situation. Now, if you want to, I'll tell you, this is what's gonna happen. You better have some fucking like legal USCCA. I'm not paid by them, but like you better have something. Or if you're independently wealthy, it won't fucking matter. It won't matter. You're just like, all right, pay and I'll get out. If that's your situation, shit, catch the case with me. You know what I'm saying? So no, I wouldn't encourage anybody. I would educate or inform people about the decisions that they make. You know what I'm saying? I do not have a driver's license. I drive every fucking day. I get rental cars with no fucking license. They don't even look. Do y'all notice that? I just hand them ID. And they'd be like, okay, because it's already paid for. And they're like, okay, I'm gonna be just riding around. Not 2 Bentleys, just one. Next question, brother right here. It was him first, then you.
Actually.
All right, go ahead.
Can we get the other speakers?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Thank y'all. We about to start the whole everybody else thing. Oh, we going back there? All right. All right, so can I answer his question why I'm... Oh, okay. So while they're transitioning, we're transitioning. Can I answer questions?
You're transitioning?
All right. I'm transitioning. Is that fucked up? Yo, I'm making fun of shit. I'm like a fake comedian. In my head, I think I'm a comedian. Go ahead, brother. How would I promote a culture of gun ownership in a country that private gun ownership, because gun ownership exists everywhere.
Well, a place where there's not much of it then, I guess.
Okay.
So like Sweden, where we tricked into believing that they got all the guns when those are the government guns.
Yeah.
I would show them, remember a couple of years ago when like people in China was like waving like USA flags? They was like, we need the Second Amendment. I would show them shit like that. Or just educate people historically about what happens when we don't have guns. And I would do it from an empathetic space. I would say, like with my anti-gun friends, I say this all the time. Use this line, this shit work. I go, damn bro, I wish I was as strong as you. And they go, what do you mean? And I go, it takes a lot of strength to trust, with the history of our government, it takes a lot of strength to trust the government the way that you do. And unequivocally, everybody goes, I don't fucking trust the government. And then now it's the open. And then I go, well, I don't trust them either, bro. That's kind of like, well, I don't want them to be the only ones with the guns. The goal is it's inception. It's inception. It's inception. Plant the seed, get the fuck out of there. When they come back and ask you questions about it later, be there for them later. So that's how I would do it in those spaces. That shit's gonna take a long time, unless, like a bunch of violence happens. When a bunch of violence happens, everybody is gonna be like, yeah, the guns, right? For example, in America, the Biden administration is telling everybody, we gotta stop with these weapons. Guns are bad, guns are bad. As they ship all of the fucking guns over to everywhere else. Where there's war zones where we have an interest, war zones, right? Then it's like, okay, guns are good. So if it's fast, if it's like some violent shit happens, money and guns will make a person change gods. Do you understand that? Y'all hear that story? I'm just talking stories while everyone's studying. Y'all hear the story about the two guys sitting next to each other on the airplane, and the airplane's fucking crashing? One of them's an atheist, and one of them's like a Christian. And the plane's going down, and it's like, this is it. And they like look at each other, and the atheist starts praying to Jesus. He's like, and shit levels out, and they land. And the atheist looks at the believer, and the believer looks at the atheist, and they don't say anything. But in your time of actual stress, you're going to go to what's real in your heart. All of my anti-gun friends, when they said, I remember it, I was in Whole Foods, because I moved into the Whole Foods, the new Whole Foods, the Dally in Philadelphia, in downtown. I picked that place because it's across the street from a prison. It's on top of the Whole Foods, and I'm like, if shit get crazy, I'm taking this Whole Foods. Me and my friends are taking, y'all laughing. I have a destiny. We're taking this Whole Foods. There's a jail across the street. If we people that we can put in the jail, we can put in the jail. There was a pool, so we got a fresh water supply source. So we store the water there. That's the reason why I moved it. But I remember when I was in the Whole Foods, all of my friends was calling me, and they was like, "Yo, bro, what we gonna do?" How many gun people in here have people that say, "If shit just go bad, I'm coming to your house"? They're admitting to you that you have the truth. They're telling you. I'm saying this shit real right now, but if it get real, I'm coming to the people that it get real. So when that happens, just be there for those people and communicate. But during the whole time, unless, God forbid, it does happen, if some fucked up shit doesn't happen, it's gonna be it's a marathon. Because you are not stronger than the propaganda machine individually. I'm sorry. We aren't, I'm not. We just not. It's their respective devil. Does that make sense? All right, everybody ready? All right.
Good to go.
Get this shit fired off.
That was exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, actually, I went out and talked to Rev, the girl you were talking to earlier, Santa. And I think when those conversations get had, it's good to be, both people have equal access to amplification, so like a microphone. And also, if sometimes sitting down helps. I don't know if it's necessary, but if like one person is sitting, another one's standing, that's not a good dynamic either. It's good to both be on the same level.
That's why I went down there,
Yeah.
because I don't know, maybe amplification here. The reason why I went down there was because I didn't want it to feel like I'm telling you stuff and down there, like this ain't the British court.
And I also thought we needed the data, literally the names of the books, because that's, I think, what she was asking about specifically. So if we'd had access to some sort of machine and pulled up some data, could have just been a seamless or a smoother.
Yeah.
But she's cool. I went out there and talked to her.
I'm gonna try to talk to her after.
Spirits. Yeah.
She might hit me.
I have that debate uploaded onto my Twitter page, TRHL official, if you want to go rewatch it or share it, it's there. I didn't tag anybody because the reach goes way down when you tag somebody in it, so I tagged y'all, so I tagged y'all in the comments. So, yeah, go ahead.
I did not know that.
Yep, so I've got it, it's about 6 minutes for when I started recording to an end.
So Maj, how do you build tone? You were talking about like facts don't care about feelings, and I like that because I think they do, like you were saying, and that's where I think about tone, the tone that you bring to the facts.
Yeah.
How do you balance your tone?
I just kind of, it depends on the room. This room, we are all already on the same team. So y'all know I'm not trying to be offensive to people in this room. Even if we have a familial situation, it's brothers and sisters squabbling over the last chicken wing. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not like we going outside to kill each other. So I just read the room. And then when I'm talking to somebody that's out of that, I'm never as passionate. My Twitter can be a little bit misleading. My Twitter, you can't tell the context, the energy as much. But I just generally like see where they at first, and challenge them a little bit depending upon what they give me. It's really it's like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I gotta operate kind of, what are they giving me? What are they giving me? What can I? Okay, they're not really giving. I can't arm bar. I can't really choke. I can't, but I can do this. Just a constant ebb and flow. It's like a dance for me. So in that space, and then. It's like when Bruce Lee said, you just train a punch a bunch of times, so when you need to have the punch is there. I'm not thinking about where can I get this punch in. It's just like, oh, cool, then my body does the thing. So it's kind of like that with conversation.
This is sacrilege to say it, but your style reminds me a lot of Ron Paul, actually, because he would, regardless of the stage he's on, he's gonna say the truth. And like it's gonna push some people away originally, but that's not what it's about. Like it's about planting that seed, as you described earlier.
I think if you joke and make fun, like take yourself serious, but not too serious.
Right.
We're family. You know what I'm saying? Like even if I say, yeah, I said this to this girl yesterday. No, you didn't, Maj. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, chill out. You didn't, right? And I think,
I believe you.
Right, but it's like it's a real kind of like, I don't want destroy fame. Like I'm regular, everybody's regular. That fame, corny shit is the thing that we're trying to destroy. And so when you kind of like, not in the sense of people that don't work hard and like LeBron's a great basketball player or whatever, but I mean just like, I want to engage humans like a human. I don't want to have a robotic, hey, how are you? How are you? You didn't answer my fucking question. I asked you how you are.
Yeah.
I'm fine, or I'm bad today.
I can actually speak to this really well because I went from being just like every libertarian, I still am that, for the record, but becoming friends with all of my heroes and realizing that they are just like me really taught me a lot about interacting with quote unquote famous people. You know, like Ian, Tim Pool, like all these people that I was I've been watching on TV forever, and now I'm like, they're just,
Let me just text them.
yeah, they're just doing this.
Gotta take a shit, just like
Right,
you, man.
Right.
Dirty deep down.
Right.
Get used to it.
Right.
I mean, we're here for you guys. You guys got questions for the panel? Yeah, we can pass the mic around and get this going.
I think we only have 2, so you gotta just yell.
Just yell.
Project from the diaphragm.
So, I have a question about wokeness for all you guys. So, a little bit
Opposed.
context. I think Hans from Papa said that, when this thing all falls apart, we're gonna go one of 2 ways. We're either gonna go some sort of libertarian decentralization, or we're gonna go with a right-wing dictator. So, my question regarding wokeness is, I feel like wokeness has almost become a human shield in a way, and kind of along the same veins as what Dave Smith says, that it's like a closed plot almost kind of thing, but I think it's a little bit more than that. It's almost like a lot of people are pushing it on purpose as a way to shield themselves. Like you see this with like SVP, when SVP went down, a lot of people said, they're doing all that stupid ESG stuff, they're just so dumb, so I was just wondering, do you guys agree with that analysis at all? And if you do, what do you think we can do to push the deal towards libertarian decentralization as opposed to ending up with a right-wing dictator?
I have a theory. My theory is that as we move forward, we're going to see very strong states' rights. So like Florida and California look totally different. And I believe we're going to have, right now, because of the 10th Amendment, we have 50 sovereign entities with trade agreements. And I believe that the further we get into this wokeness, the further, I don't want to say radicalized, but I'm going to say radicalized because you know what I mean. The further radicalized states are going to get. So you're not going to want to go to Florida for the sunny weather. You're going to want to go there because their governor is not a tyrant, or you're going to want to stay away from California because their governor is a tyrant. So things like that, but you're going to start seeing it in other states that might be less in the news, as opposed to Florida and California. You might start seeing it in like Nebraska and in places like that you don't really hear much about. But that's my vision is find a red state or a blue state or a purple state, something that reflects your values, like New Hampshire, for instance, is a bastion of libertarianism. So that would be my view of the future is the states are going to take the 10th Amendment and start looking very different from each other.
And to piggyback off that, Diego, earlier we were talking about Bring Our Troops Home. That's your company, I think, which is basically moving to give the states the rights to prevent their own National Guard from being shipped overseas if Congress hasn't declared the war. So let's take our rights back like that. That's Bring Our Troops Home, bringourtroopshome.us. That's solid.
I think that the wokeness issue, and I think I've seen Maj push back against the utilization of wokeness because it's been bastardized and co-opted. But from our vantage point, the way we use it, I think that I really go to Yuri Mezmanov and kind of the descriptive kind of Marxist cultural takeover that we've been dealing with, and the fact that you now have a kind of mechanistic infiltration of these ideas into business is extraordinarily disturbing. It's actually probably the thing, aside from lockdowns, it's the thing that disturbed me the most was to find out that there's actually, 3-letter acronyms that are putting this, Barack Obama in 2014, August, he made it so that every federal department had to have a diversity, equity, inclusion department. That was basically the implementation and the infiltration of the ESG concept in all of federal. And then because they do so much business with corporations, obviously if they want those government contracts, they're going to adopt it. That obviously expedited it. And then you have the ESG from the macro level with the WEF and BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard that are withholding or delivering financing predicated on how quote unquote woke your corporation is functioning. It's an extraordinarily dangerous way of doing anything, but if you do it under the guise of free market capitalism, we're in a lot of trouble because when it falls apart, which it inevitably will, capitalism will take the blame as opposed to these sick ideas that infiltrated what is otherwise a great idea. So it's concerning.
And real quick, to piggyback off what Ian had said, the last time Congress declared a war was World War II. And we've been in a lot of wars since then, yeah? All right, yeah, so that's why it's.
I don't know,
it's
Scott,
important.
have we? A few.
A couple, yeah.
Let me just give you a little, is this on?
It is.
Just gotta go straight into it, probably.
Let me give you a little historical perspective. I've been thinking about this for a long, long time, and in October 2019, a few months before COVID hit, I gave essentially my farewell address at the college when I was the presenter for the Sebastian Rossetti Memorial Lectures. Dean Rossetti was the dean that hired me in 1985, and I owe a lot to him because of his support of my tenure at the college. He was instrumental in me getting tenure, promoted, so on and so forth. Here's what I said in October 2019. I said, because the title of my talk was America, the Next 70 Years. Why 70 years? 2019 was 70 years since I came to America in 1949 as an infant with my older brother and parents. So what was the gist of my talk at the end? I said, I don't think in the next 70 years, America will be one nation. I gave the reasons why. And I came up with a historical perspective, the 2040 rule. So write this down. Ideas get shot down, and some ideas come back 20 years later as law. Example, the income tax got shot down in 1895. Fast forward nearly 20 years, 1913, we get the 16th Amendment. Okay? We can do this over and over again, 20 years or 40 years. Let me give you another example. And this is a really interesting example. 1964, the Civil Rights Act. 40 years later, 44 years later, the first African-American president. So how did that happen? People's ideas change about society and each other. And I think we go over this over and over. You can do your own little Google search about bad ideas that get presented, they get shot down, they lay dormant, they get resurrected, and then they get enacted because the people who opposed them 20, 40 years ago are dead or don't know about how bad it would be if we enacted these ideas. And yeah, that's a great example. Or the Federal Reserve. So, and I told one of the attendees here, a little over 20 years ago, and I wish I had written this book. I had an idea for a book on American culture. It would probably be one of the most controversial books that could be written about American culture. And the title was going to be The End of Heterosexuality.
Oh, shit.
And I don't know if you saw a recent poll. There was a recent poll published online that 25% of teenagers consider themselves homosexual or bisexual or transgender. Well, fast forward that to the next 20 years, 40 years, you'll think about more than 50% of the population will consider themselves non-heterosexual. I'm not making any judgment about it, but the point is politically, it will be very dicey because there will be all sorts of, quote, protections for that particular class of individuals, that demographic. This portends a lot of social unrest and conflict because there are people, whether they're people of faith or non-faith, who have a problem with that type of behavior. So here's where we're headed, folks, and the younger folks here, you're going to see this unfold over the next 40 years. There's no question about it. And that's why I really kicked myself for not writing this book, because the handwriting was on the wall in the early part of the 21st century. And I haven't written about it. I think I will in my Substack column, because I think it's fascinating from a social analytical perspective. Where are we headed as a society? And the thing that troubles me, and this is really, I think, the essence of libertarianism versus progressivism. We believe in live and let live. We don't want to, what consenting adults do in the bedroom is none of my business, and it's certainly not the government's business. What's happened is that people feel that their sexuality has to be public knowledge and has to be accepted by everybody, otherwise you're some sort of bigot. Right. And we have to stand up for a very important principle, which I write in my memoir, which I'm really proud of, and that is the right of association. and the right of contract and private property rights. If those three principles are articulated, that diversity really means the right of association with whomever you want to be with, then you solve the problem. It's called decentralization. And you just have to say it in a matter-of-fact way. Say, this is not about liking or disliking people. This is about social harmony, the general welfare. It's right there in the Constitution. So if you want to have a harmonious society, let people associate with whomever they want. And the amazing thing, and there was no outcry about this, when Joe Biden announced he will only pick a black woman for the Supreme Court, my head exploded. It really did, because that is the most sexist, racist thing you can articulate in the country.
What you got against black people, bro?
I mean, think about it. Could you imagine if a corporation articulated something? Only white males can apply for this position.
Well, corporations do that, but on the inverse.
Yeah. I mean, so corporations, the CEOs, they don't want to be boycotted. They don't want to be ostracized. So they go along with this because it's the path of least resistance. And most CEOs want the path of least resistance. They don't want boycotts. Well, so it just happened with Budweiser, right? So this is a powerful force in America. So let me somebody else think.
Yeah, I just wanted to hop in and say it's not just about being ostracized. It's not just about being protested. There's actually billions of dollars, trillions, many, many trillions that are at play in incentivizing CEOs to take these paths, quite to the detriment of their customer base, which is what any businessman, any CEO historically has been focused like a laser beam on. How can I satisfy my customers? As soon as that becomes no longer your primary guiding force, you're no longer functioning in a free market.
Well, this is one thing. This is why Austrian economics is so important. It's all about satisfying the consumer, not the special interests that want a corporation who have an agenda. And if we articulate that very clearly, in other words, what are you doing to satisfy the American people, the public, with your products or service? End of story. Because if you're not doing that, why are you in business? And so this is what I've been saying on, like I said, on radio and TV, and people, the talk show hosts, love the message because they're considered conservatives, but I think deep down they're really libertarians. So we have to tap into that megaphone that's out there of hundreds and hundreds of radio shows and podcasts that can give us a platform for articulating the most simple, basic economic concepts called the law of supply and demand, the right of free association, private property, and contract. And I think we will win in the end because truth always wins in the end.
Just give us 40 years.
I have an idea. Josie, did you want to say something now? Because I can say that.
I just wanted to piggyback off that, something that it made me think of. Dr. Jordan Peterson made a really great point about the dangers of ESG. And he said, okay, take engineering, for instance, which is 99% men. Now, if an engineering company said, okay, well, we need to have 50% men, 50% women, then you are picking from 1% of everybody. And so the quality of who you can pick from to fill those positions goes way down, and that's gonna affect your product, that's gonna affect your bridges, that's gonna affect everything that the consumer needs. But that's just such an eye-opening way to look at it. If engineers are hiring 50% women, 50% men, that's a disaster, essentially, in my opinion, in Jordan Peterson's opinion.
So the slight bit of pushback that I will give, even though I vastly agree with everything that's being said. Okay, so this explanation is from a group of people that have not historically been, like, let's keep it a buck. Black America has been marginalized. It's just what happened. I think the challenge too is to translate that, because from someone that doesn't know what you all know, it becomes, this is just a job opportunity for me. Like, what do you mean? Like, why can't I take the job opportunity? I think what we should also think about adding into the languaging is something along the lines of always showcasing how the state has created this thing that you've been impacted by, and our articulating of this is not an attack on this demographic, and then showing here's how this can actually be better. So for example, if in the engineer example, if you're from this demographic and you happen to be an engineer, you need to highlight and step up and say, I want that particular gig. Because not only do I so-called fit your demographic, but I'm also the best engineer. To say one without the other to a demographic that doesn't understand or has not been taught, because the schools obviously, like, come on, you know what I mean? You run the risk of losing that person, because if I'm setting up against y'all, I say, they don't care about you getting a job. That's how I win. I can distill it. So to your point of like, yo, give me 40 years, which is true, because we didn't get in this spot in like 2 weeks.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I think that languaging. So when someone asks me, to make it a little more simple, when someone asks me a loaded question, like an anti-gun platform, if they'll say, so as a gun owner, why don't you care about the death? And I'll go, here's why the death is very important to me in stopping the death. And then the rest of the sentence. I think what happens is sometimes when we do an outreach, because man, I would light y'all up with these statements. If I was on the outside, I would just go, oh man, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that. I think we gotta remember to say, you guys are now charged with the experience when doing outreach of explaining it fully every time. The moment that you don't explain it fully to someone like me, that is the other team has, we are going to light you up. Make sense? And it's hard because it's like, you could just go, well, no, the fucking information is the information. It's a weird, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the hard part is like, I tend to, and this is my debate strategy, but I will reject the framing if I find it to be unfair.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's an unfair framing, but I grant you that they would be utilized against me. So I'm not really sure how to address it other than to say like, all right, the Black community is 12% of the population. You want to have 50% of the pilots be Black. Well, there's thousands of incredible pilots, but if you were to hire half of them and just obligatory, half of them have to be Black.
Here's what
that'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
No, this is how you say that. You say,
tell me how to say it.
I think that you're doing a disservice to the hard-working Black pilots because you're making them a number now.
Yeah. That's a better way to put it.
You know, it's also the way you say it. Every time you got to have the tone. Because if I come in and I'm annoyed and I'm just like, come on, like
13% of the population.
Yeah, no one's gonna. But if you're real chill or you're just on their level,
yeah,
just match the energy.
I just turn it back against them. I just go, yo, this is gonna impact. I'm doing it now. Right. Hey guys, as we're saying these things that are 100% correct, maybe we can tweak this away where we still getting the outreach in. Right. It's the same thing, but when they're adversarial, I'll go, if I was to debate David Hogg, you really want Black people to go to jail for a human right. The framing, and it's weird because we see what lefties do, and we're like, what the fuck? Y'all are playing a stat game, but they're like, you have the information and you got to play the articulate part of it too, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, pretty much.
To the mind.
Yeah, to the mind.
I know you're about to say something, but just to tap off what you're saying, how like a bad idea will come up and 20 years later it'll be passed into law. I wonder if a good way to prevent that is to make a fucking movie about it that becomes so memorable in the consciousness about the horror of that thing. And for instance, like the transgender movement right now, it's sad that people feel that they're not the gender that of the sex that they're born with. And if you could make a movie showing the psychology of someone going through that, like the Joker, the way you could see, I didn't actually see the entire movie, but the way he's going through that psychosis, like the way, the pain, the really feel it, that it will stay in the consciousness and people will be ready for it. If we had movies in 1890, maybe, and we had the Federal Reserve, we could have made a movie about central banking. The Federal Reserve would never have been able to get traction.
Yeah, they do make like propaganda films still about agenda that they're trying to push. Yeah, that still happens, but it works. So we should make anti-propaganda.
Yeah.
See, this is the way it goes. I just want to get to more questions. I know we only have until 5. Raise your hands up. All right, right in the front here.
Hi, yeah, so I just have a question, and I want Scott to answer this too, is that from my perspective, a lot of the times, I'm a libertarian, but when I deal with the political party, which this absolutely is that sometimes it feels more like a book club. And I'm all for the educational aspect of it, but I want, if Scott can you please talk to us about the pain and anguish that historically anti-war activists have gone through, and maybe compare that to what we're asking of libertarians today. So if we say pick up the phone and make 10 calls throughout the day, and compare that to what they've had to deal with in the past. Which is Scott, he's a wealth of information here, but I think that matters because I don't think that people have a grasp of what the anti-war activists have been through.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not really one to talk about that. I've spent 20 years just interviewing journalists. I'm not even a journalist. I just talk to them and record it.
Right.
But look, I mean, it depends, how bad you're willing to fight about which issue. I mean, just in the 1960s, you had people, throwing themselves in front of trains. I don't know if they got ran over, but preventing trains from taking munitions to the tracks, that kind of thing. I've interviewed the Catholic socialist workers who go and break into the nuclear weapons stations and pour blood on nuclear missiles or bang on them with hammers and then go to prison. I mean, what's her name? McAllister. I'm sorry, I forget her first. Elizabeth McAllister. I mean, she spent probably half her life in prison protesting nuclear weapons. You got to pick your battles, but as far as political activism, I mean, I'm really not one to talk, man. But there are people who are much better suited to organizing and doing the work, and people, they know who they are. I think the problem, what we've had in the Libertarian Party was we had a real separation between the people who wanted to run a party and the people who are really ideological libertarians and really issue oriented and want to fight, online all day, I guess, in the war of ideas. And it came to, a fight really, to merge the two things together. But I think it's only been not quite a year yet that we've really, had this change. And I really think the potential of the Libertarian Party going forward is really great. We really have a lot of Ron Paul revolution-oriented people in charge now, and who at least share those kind of priorities. And then as far as like guilt tripping people that like don't what other people have sacrificed and that kind of thing, like I don't know. I hadn't been to war and I hadn't thrown myself on any train tracks or anything, so I can't really say that. But I will say that. As I tried to say in my talk earlier, that, I think people shouldn't underestimate your ability to run for these offices and win them and hold them and then move up to better offices and figure out levers of power where you can have juice and have a real effect. And we saw this is a big thing recently where they're trying to steal this guy's property to expand the Alamo down there in San Antonio. And I don't know if that's been resolved or what at this point, but I know it's libertarians are down there fighting about it, trying to prevent this from happening. And so, that sets an example. And just like with the Ron Paul revolution, you got, tens of thousands or more, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who met each other and networked together and worked together and created groups together and ended up running for office. I mean, that's where Justin Amash and Thomas Massey came from. Was that kind of Ron Paul revolution wave, and that's how Rand Paul got to the Senate, and that's how there are quite a few state legislators across the country who came in from that. So it's practice, and build on those successes, and like I say, like with the Jeff Frazee example there, where I met this kid and he was like a Ron Paul kid in 2004 at the Texas Libertarian Party convention, and then within a couple of years, he founded Students for Ron Paul that became Young Americans for Liberty. That was so important in your career and so many others. It's just a matter of this one kid saying, "Well, I want to do a thing," and getting it done and figuring out how to really build something out of it. So, my issue is war,
And it's difficult to get people to pay attention to something so far away a lot of the times. But then again, it's the very worst thing that our government does. And it's at the root. I mean, if you have a world empire, then you got to have a strong central government to maintain a world empire, don't you? So first things first, as far as that goes. But look, I mean, I think there's nowhere to go but up for the libertarians, because we're right about everything, and everything is really, really wrong right now. So, you know, pick your battles and fight them.
Two quick points. When I talk about my anti-war position on radio and TV, who do I invoke? President Eisenhower's farewell address. You should all see it on YouTube. And even the hosts know about it, about the military-industrial complex. And they really like the fact that I'm talking about it, and they understand it, and they agree with it.
Let me just say too, that they don't know that speech because of Eisenhower. They know that because of us. Right. Because we won't let that message die. Because we constantly let it die.
Let me just follow what Maj said about demographics and ideas. After the 97 gubernatorial campaign in New Jersey, I received a letter from a rabbi in central New Jersey asking me to speak to his congregation one Friday night. I said, great. What's the topic? Why Jews should be libertarians. Jews typically vote 60 to 70% for Democrats. So I said, well, what's the basic principle of libertarianism? The non-aggression principle. Where does it come from? Mount Sinai. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. You got him. If you're a Jew and you believe in the 10 Commandments, here is the philosophy that underlies libertarianism. Connect the dots. No one disagreed with me. That's how you reach a group with ideas that they can identify with. And by the way, my given name is Moses. Okay.
Awesome. I wanted to add one quick note on your question about speaking out against anti-war stuff. I mean, the dangers that you're talking about historically, people have been put to death for opposing war. So like the level of oppression that we can experience for pushing the message that we do on a daily basis is extraordinary. And it's only going to get worse, particularly if World War III were to happen tomorrow, there's a very good chance that they would imprison myself and Scott and everybody else that talks about this shit. So, but as of now, there is a socialist, I forget the name of them, but the socialist black anti-war group that have, what's it, All right, I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyways, I mean, it's here, you know, there is a real risk that it gets worse from here too. So I just want to take that opportunity to encourage everybody, speak while you can without endangering your lifestyle. And there is really no excuse not to do so.
Amy, we're approaching 5 now. Are we going to stop and cut it right at 5?
I think we can take one more question.
One more question. Okay, hands up. Way up. Okay, right there in the front.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm really curious to get the panel's perspective on libertarian ideas on energy policy going forward. Every time we get a new administration, it's new renewables, and then it's the reverse of that, right? You know, ultimately, this is a continent with a wealth of natural resources that we can use to power ourselves. So where do you see, you know, your ideas on where we're going with a lot of these cool technologies, but, you know, just your perspective in general on
Nuclear power. Nuclear power is the way forward.
SMR.
Carbon recapture and conversion into graphene is pretty powerful. So I think we can keep pulling the carbon out of the earth, burning it, recollecting it, and reusing it, in addition to pulling more out of the air. But I mean, we're talking about like deep tech, like vibrational, like we don't need to use explosion to get energy. We can use implosion as well. You can vibrate. I think Tesla was doing that. I like fusion power a lot, but like, this is a good question, especially from the libertarian perspective or from the perspective of like controlling your own destiny. If everyone here had a fusion pack with excessive, like almost unlimited amounts of power, and each one of us could blow this entire building up on accident, would that be just? Would that be liberty? Or would that be just too dangerous to allow? And I think that the powers that be at the moment have decided that's too dangerous to allow because fusion is here.
Normally, that question, I mean, from a libertarian's perspective, we would say, why would I be walking around with something that could blow the room up? Like, I probably wouldn't do that. If it was like that volatile, you wouldn't need to regulate In my opinion, you wouldn't need to. But to answer your question about the power, look, this is so far outside of my wheelhouse, but I am 100% convinced that if you were to liberate the market and allow the market to actually meet the demand, deliver goods on the best price, whatever the productivity is from each individual fuel source or energy source, I think that we would find that we are not even close to using the most beneficial energy that we can. And it's largely, and if not entirely, because of government involvement. So I think if we diminish that, we can actually make some progress.
And just burn the New York Times.
That's how much they want.
For those of you that are interested in climate change issues, the best place to get information is the CO2coalition.org, founded by retired physics professor William Happer of Princeton University. I've spoken to Will several times, and it is a wealth of information demolishing the myth of CO2 pollution. I mean, just white paper after white paper after white paper. It is essential that libertarians know the climate issue quite well, because CO2 is not the problem according to the organization.
It's how we stay alive.
It's a valuable resource.
Yes.
CO2 is an extremely valuable resource. And when people realize that, there's going to be a race to take it out of the air. So we need some sort of global coalition to protect the trees.
Yeah.
Can we get a graphene chant
Carbon.
on the way out just for Ian? Because I feel like he's never gotten one before, and he wants a graphene chant.
Don't breathe it in. He's saying it when you make it. Yeah, make it with ozone. I think you can nail some carbon dioxide with ozone and then electrify it and just burn strands of graphene in the air.
Okay, so we're good.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.